You finally got one guy who literally isn't even illegally on U.S. soil, by the way. How are you going to be wrong even in this moment? Like, it blows my mind. We need to let these hogs in because I need to hear more of them. But yeah, 4 senior U.S. law enforcement officials briefed on the investigation tell NBC News the suspect they've identified is Rahmanullah Lakanwal, Afghan national, date of birth, date of birth, 2/9/1996. Last address was Washington State. Yeah, we're about to hear some crazy Islamophobia, bro.
More National Guard presence in Washington, D.C. You heard Pete Hegseth saying this is to ensure that the city stays beautiful and safe. And I spoke to a number of Bowser's administration officials as well as various D.C. law enforcement who said that they were expecting this to happen. They expected that President Trump would use this basically as the next step in bringing more National Guard to Washington, D.C. So something to keep in mind there. But I can tell you, Jim, I mean, the White House is watching this incredibly closely. They are not only just watching the logistics of what happened, trying to figure out who the suspect was, but they're looking at motive. Was their motive directly politically related to what happened? We know that having the National Guard in D.C. and in various other large cities has become somewhat of a political flashpoint. In addition to that, was there any reasoning or was it part of the motive to have this shooting occur so close to the White House? Of course, President Trump is not there, and President Trump is well protected. But was this some kind of symbolism? And you're really seeing what the White House's concerns are and what they're doing reflected in this whole of administration response. They have been very careful and brought in really the top guns on all of this to try and make sure.
I wonder if he's too young to be an interpreter or related to an interpreter. If he's an Afghan national, I could see him. I mean, he's like 30, 29.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Could be the case.
Let me ask you your reaction to seeing a shooting tonight. 2 guardsmen in critical condition shot in the nation's capital on the eve of Thanksgiving.
Obviously, it's horrifying just to see the images, but also just having obviously known and knowing a lot of guardsmen in the National Guard, not just in D.C., but here back home. The incredible service to our country and to community should always be at the forefront when we're thinking about the work that they do. And at the same time, you have 2 of them now in critical condition right before the holidays. So it's horrific. I'm glad that we're making progress in this case and to understand actually what happened here. I imagine in the days ahead, there will be a lot of information coming out of law enforcement and the FBI, and certainly Congress will be fully briefed as to
Look at that. Terror suspect Rahmanullah Lakanwal came to the U.S. in 2021 during the withdrawal from Afghanistan as a part of Operation Allies Welcome, per law enforcement sources, which means, first of all, this is interesting because it continue without supporting us. Why would I ever support you, New York Post? That photo might have been correct, by the way. The naked dude. But yeah, this they're gonna say Joe Biden let in all these Afghan refugees into the country. Another instance of like Islamic style terrorism. Why would you not support them? The New York Post? Why the fuck would I support the New York Post, dude? Do you know how many articles they've written about just me alone? Yeah, it's totally not terrorism law. What? First of all, we don't know what the actual reason is yet. I do like that you immediately went, oh, he's Afghan, so obviously it's terrorism. If he was a white guy, I feel like you would have a very different opinion. I'm not even discounting the fact that it could be an act of domestic terror, okay? But you're very certain. I'm glad that, it's not a white guy for you. So you could actually look at this and be like, maybe it is domestic terror. That was quick. Yeah. The tweet I read says terrorist suspect. He seems a bit young to have worked for the former Afghan administration over the U.S. I bet he was probably a family member of someone who was. Yeah. I'm trying to map out a motive. And if I see relatively young Afghan national who came to the United States of America with the withdrawal, and I suspect there's probably animosity there. Where could that animosity stem from? Most likely family members that were left behind, that were translators, that might have gotten like killed by the Taliban or something. You know what I mean? Like collaborators with the American occupation that were not allowed to return. And then, that could be like I'm making shit up right now. This is all suspicion, wee woo, speculation alert. But that is what I could foresee this happening, because this is a This is a consistent line of resentment and anger with a lot of people of this sort of background. Right? He's 29 years old. He was 25 when he came to the United States in 2021, and he might be a little too young to have worked with the forces. America betrayed a lot of people in Afghanistan who helped America. Exactly. Yeah, this isn't about the suspect, but the threat of deportation could be a motive. He supported the U.S. war in Afghanistan. Now he may be deported to the Taliban. He escaped Afghanistan and started a family in the U.S. Then ICE arrested him. If he's deported, he expects the Taliban to kill him. Yeah. Like, there are many stories such as this one. There are many people who got refugee status, or at least was told that they would have protection in the United States of America, and literally did work and collaborate with the American invasion.
Seen a difference in Washington, D.C. Crime is down significantly.
Chairman, hold on. We just got this. I need to get to it.
Oh my God, they're so happy. Oh my God. Oh my God. Shooter is a legal migrant on Biden visa. Oh my God, they're nutting. The moment that they find out, look at the moment that they found out the background of the shooter. Look at this.
We've seen a difference in Washington, D.C. Crime is down significantly.
Chairman, hold on. We just got this. I need to get to it. This just in, sources are telling Fox News that the shooter is an illegal immigrant from Afghanistan who came in during Operation Allies, welcome under the Biden administration. And he overstayed that visa. All right, Chairman. So Fox News is learning that this person was here illegally, overstayed his visa, and that's who this shooter profile is. What's your immediate reaction?
That is crazy, bro. He's not even hiding it. He's not even hiding it. He's like they're all cracking a smile. And the other guy is so giddy, he's laughing. You're supposed to be angry, you idiot. You're not supposed to be excited. You're not supposed to be elated that 2 National Guardsmen were shot in the head. This straight up shows you what the priority is. This straight up shows you that for them, it's more so like, oh, I'm going to craft an incredibly... Imagine thinking you're special because your mom shat you on one side of an imaginary line rather than another. Basically, nationalism. I agree. They're literally excited that 2 National Guardsmen were shot in the head because now they can craft more anti-immigrant propaganda. They're giddy, dude. Like, you can see it. You see it in the attitude change.
My immediate reaction is we tried desperately to get an accounting of all the people that came from Afghanistan to the United States during that disastrous withdrawal during the Biden administration. That was a huge priority for the House Oversight Committee. We never got that information. We were never allowed to get that information because I don't think the government had any idea. I don't think they kept an accurate accounting. And if they did, I think they realized there were probably lots of gaps. We were told there were going to be about 2,000 people that had worked with our military as people that tried to help with the cause, to help protect our troops in Afghanistan. Right. But then at the end of the day, there were closer to 100,000. But we don't know what that number was, and I don't think the government has Congress.
Yeah, these guys are super horny for this thing.
So 2 senior law enforcement sources tell NBC News that the FBI is now looking at the very distinct possibility this was an act of terrorism. The suspect, an Afghan national. This was a targeted attack, a horrific attack, with the aftermath caught on camera. Terror in the heart of Washington, D.C., just 2 blocks from the White House.
This is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen.
Video captured them.
It is pretty crazy that they were so quick with it. Straight up. They were like, oh, he's Afghan. Terrorism. Oh, no. They had that shit ready to go. Oh, yeah. Don't make me play it again. They got so giddy. They got so giddy at the prospect. They were like, oh, we one finally. Thanksgiving convos just ramped up. Chatter's cooked. Can you play it again? I wasn't watching. Yeah, no. As I said earlier in the day, depending on what the background and what the profile of the shooter is, they are going to move on quickly. Earlier in the day, they didn't know who the shooter was. So before they found out the shooter's background, they were saying it's the 6 Democrats that said the military has a duty not to follow unlawful orders. They are the ones who are responsible for this. And now that they found that the suspect's profile is that he's an Afghan national that came into the country under Joseph Robinette Brandon, they openly in the I mean, here, I'm just going to run the video again. Look.
We've seen a difference in Washington, D.C. Crime is down significantly.
Chairman.
Look at how he's smiling when he got the new information. This is literally in real time. Okay, you can see it happening.
Chairman, hold on. We just got this. I need to get to it. This just in. Sources are telling Fox News that the shooter is an illegal immigrant from Afghanistan who came in during Operation Allies. Welcome.
This guy at least, okay, middle guy at least does the, oh, I can't believe it, before cracking a smile. I'm gonna show you every single person's face individually. First, look at how delighted he is. He already is incredibly excited to deliver the news.
I need to get to it.
He stops everybody, goes, I gotta tell you this. All right.
Just in, sources are telling Fox News that the shooter is an illegal immigrant from Afghanistan.
So he goes, oh, I can't believe it. Then watch the second guy. Watch the second guy's face after he goes.
Who came in during Operation Allies. Welcome under Joe.
He can't even hold his smile. The main host is excited, okay? He's literally smiling.
Under the Biden administration. And he overstayed that visa. All right, Chairman. So Fox News is learning that this person was here illegally, overstayed his visa, and that's who this shooter profile is. What's your immediate reaction?
Well, my immediate reaction is we tried desperately to get an accounting of all the people that came from Afghanistan to the United States during that disastrous withdrawal during the Biden administration. That was a huge priority for the House Oversight Committee. We never got that information. We were never allowed to get that information because I don't think the government had any idea. I don't think they kept an accurate accounting. And if they did, I think they realized there were probably lots of gaps. We were told there were going to be about 2,000 people that had worked with our military as people that tried to help with the cause to help protect our troops in Afghanistan.
Right.
But then at the end of the day, there were closer to 100,000. But we don't know what that number was, and I don't think the government has kept good track of it. And I'm sure there were mistakes that were made.
And we found the guy's social media yet? That's the real question. Do we know what his social media is? It's hard because there's a cricket player with the same name, really? Are we going to see levels of Islamophobia not seen since the Cuomo campaign last month? I don't think so.
He immigrated.
Here it is. What do you know?
Well, this individual appears to be from Washington State. It appears that he immigrated here into the United States in 2021 as part of the operation to bring Afghanis who had worked with or assisted the United States government over into this country as Afghanistan was beginning to fall.
The Special Immigrant Visa Program, SIV program.
Right, exactly. This was the Allies Welcome Program. He applied for asylum under that program and was granted that asylum in April of this year, although he's been here, it appears, since 2021. So that sets this in a place where the FBI is going to be looking at what was.
Wait, why the f are they saying he was here illegally then? I don't understand. MAGA gets more honest about their intentions every day. That's it. I want a king.
Was the vetting that was done prior to his arrival here, when he settled in Washington? What has been his activities here in the United States? What brought him to Washington? How long has he been there? But it's going to give them a better direction at this point as they try to get from who is this individual, which they believe they've established, to what is his motive. Now, a number of motives could come up there. One could be that he was disenchanted in the United States. Another could be that he was angry at the U.S. military or felt betrayed and came upon people in uniform when he traveled to Washington. Or it could be something altogether different.
In other words,
let's wildly speculate. I mean, I did also speculate on it, and I said similar things in terms of like finding a motive. They're obscuring it, but this means the military is familiar enough with him to be an informant for them, so to be granted asylum. So what radicalized him? Was he a hardcore jihadist or a blue-haired Maoist third worldist? Fox News won't be able to settle on one. No, I think it's the more common one is that I could see guys like this having a lot of gripe, PTSD, having a lot of anger and resentment towards the military in general for like or the administration in general as well, for in a lot of circumstances, like not helping some of their friends or some of their family members that they promised they would help. Like, it happens. There have been other instances of this happening as well. I wonder, sure he's a SIV or just an Afghan that came over there in the airlift? SIV indicates service to the U.S. government, but a lot of randoms get evac during that time who weren't SIVs. If his status expired in September 25th, it sounds like he's a random, not a SIV. Could be wrong, though. Yeah, CNN says the National Guard shooting suspect applied for asylum in 2024, and it was granted earlier this year, so he's not even a visa overstayer. Crazed gunman who shot 2 National Guard troops in a possible terror attack near the White House has been identified as 29-year-old Afghan national who came to the U.S. during the chaotic 2021 Afghanistan withdrawal. Law enforcement sources told the Post Rahmanullah Lakanwal was allegedly lying in wait before he rounded the corner near the Farragut West Metro Station, Northwest D.C. around 2:15 p.m., then opened fire, striking a female guard in the chest before shooting her in the head. According to law enforcement sources, Lockenwall, who entered the country under Operation Allies Welcome and resettled in Bellingham, Washington, then allegedly fired and struck at the second guard until a third guard stationed nearby rushed to the area, took him down. The 2 armed soldiers who were patrolling the siege when the suspect launched his rampage were taken to a nearby hospital in critical condition. The suspect, who was reportedly shot 4 times, was hauled away nearly naked in an ambulance and acted alone. So I guess that chatter, that random weirdo who posted that photo was correct. Police have not revealed a motive for the attack. Law enforcement source says the FBI is initially treating the shooting as a potential act of terrorism. Why was he naked, though? I guess they took his clothes off or something. I don't know. Like, I feel like if he shot the people naked, you would have seen it, right? They probably stripped him of his clothes, searched him for a bomb or something. Or gunshot wounds. Treating his gunshot wounds. Most likely the second thing. Because they say he got shot 4 times. It's time to arm the National Guard. Wait, what? It's time to arm the National Guard. They're the National Guard. What do you mean, arm the National Guard? They are armed, you what? Is that a joke? I'm confused. They patrol DC without arms? I've quite literally seen guns in DC. Maybe some of them don't have weapons, but I'm pretty sure they have arms, dude. I've seen it with my own 2 eyes. Also, we know that at least one of the guys definitely had a gun because they shot the suspect 4 times. Unless you think the suspect literally shot 2 National Guard troops in the head and then turned around and took the same gun and started firing on himself. Low-ranking National Guard soldiers don't carry guns around in DC. They use blades only. Wait, what? They use blades only? That's crazy. Trump is going to go scorched earth on illegals now. They all have to go. A king doesn't sound so bad. Blade? What do you mean blade only? Like, he's just running around with a katana? Like, what the Anyway, let's hear what else they're saying.
Exactly what they're focused
about
on.
The details.
Clearly, he approached no one else and fired these guardsmen who obviously are wearing uniforms. So was this something that was motivated to attack U.S. soldiers? Again, the fact that he emigrated here from Afghanistan, that is also part of this investigation. FBI's counterterrorism teams are pouring through all of their resources to see what they can learn more about this person's history, where he came from, anything that he presented when he entered this country. All of that is being worked on right now. But no, at this point, John, they do not know exactly what the motive is. But obviously, the fact that the circumstances are sort of blinking red if you're a counterterrorism investigator at the FBI right now.
We'll let you get back to your sources. Evan Perez, thank you so much for giving us the latest. With us now, CNN Chief Law Enforcement and Intelligence Analyst John Miller, CNN Law Enforcement Analyst Jonathan Wackrow, and former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis. John Miller, let me start with you. What more are you hearing from your sources about the investigation and about the suspect?
Well, it's becoming a little bit of a clearer picture. So, you know, authorities were clear this was a targeted attack. Chief Carroll from the Washington, D.C. Metro Police called it an ambush. Evan Perez described a video where he comes around the corner, sees the 2 uniformed soldiers, and then approaches his arm extended with a pistol. So we know this was a very deliberate, very chosen attack in terms of this target. What do we know about the individual? We've been trying to dig into that. What we know is that he comes here from Afghanistan. Now, this is a guy who's been living in Washington State, not Washington, D.C., on the other end of the country. He comes here from Afghanistan in the summer of 2021. Remember what that was like. Refugees fleeing Afghanistan, people had to be recommended by U.S. people on one end, vetted on this end by government background checks as far as they could do in Afghanistan, have sponsors and so on. He settled in Washington. He applies for asylum in December of 2024. Now, he goes through another vetting process involving that, and he's approved for asylum in April of this year under the Trump administration. He comes in under the Biden administration. These checks are being done. I remember as a part of the Joint Terrorism Task Force in New York, where we supplied people for that vetting process, it was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of people. They were being kept in military installations. A lot of that vetting had to be done very quickly. I also remember we had to go back afterwards when we found information on certain people and bring them back. In this case, that's all we know about this individual.
But yeah, it turns out when you get your information from Fox News, first and foremost, you arrive at the wrong opinions, because Fox News literally immediately was like, this is an illegal immigrant. It turns out he actually did have legal status, from what I understand. Either CNN is lying or Fox News is lying.
Jonathan Wackrow, we looked at the map. You can see Farragut Square. I mean, this is really just a few blocks from the White House.
2 blocks.
So how does that impact the investigation?
Well, first you have to think about, what does the security at the White House look like, even when the president is not there? And it's constantly going to be these rings, these concentric rings of protection that radiate out from the White House. This location was clearly within one of those rings, and because it falls within the proximity and the security zone of the White House, you have a heavy
both could be lying, not
gonna
lie. No, both could not be lying at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. You either have legal status to be in the country or you don't. It's ridiculous.
I believe that the Secret Service was one of the first uniformed officers on scene. And when you see that very dramatic video, you see them doing 2 things. They're trying to maintain scene safety, but they're also in public safety, but they're also trying to address the medical condition at the moment and take somebody into custody. So there's a lot of things going on at the same time. But the fact that additional people were not injured, that the suspect was immediately brought into custody, has to do with that proximity, because you had this surge of...
Man, why do you listen to these moron chatters? None of what is true. The National Guard in D.C. was given orders to carry M17 pistols a couple months ago. You can see the announcement on the Joint Task Force D.C. website. Yet, some of the National Guardsmen, I think, depending on whichever, like, what patrol it is, I don't think they all have guns. But I have directly seen with my own 2 eyes, when I was in D.C., National Guardsmen carrying guns. So I said, I don't believe that chatter. I have literally seen National Guardsmen carrying weapons. I witnessed it with my own 2 eyes. You've seen it on stream, probably.
Differently, having it be targeting National Guard, uniformed National Guard, as opposed to uniformed police officers.
Right. The symbolism here is incredible. Within a couple of blocks of the White House, 2 military personnel targeted by an individual who came from a war-torn country. There's clearly a lot going on here that would send this in the direction of the Joint Terrorism Task Force, and really have to take a hard look at that component.
It's always the illegals. Oh, thank God, dude. Thank God you can bust the chatter. You finally got one guy who literally isn't even illegally on U.S. soil, by the way. As I was saying, as I was repeating to that one other chatter who was like, oh, it's always an illegal. This is the one time. And even then you're wrong, because it doesn't seem like the person was even here illegally. How are you going to be wrong even in this moment? Like, it blows my mind.